spooky season. It's spooky season. It's spooky season. Sup Anonymous, it's me, Wiz15, and welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. If you haven't been here before, hi! My name is Oizik, also known as Kayla, but spelled funny, C-A-Y-L-A. I'm a variety streamer, do lots of different things over there on my Twitch if you want to pop a follow. I usually try to stream 3 times a week. On YouTube, we primarily do gaming and reaction content, but I'd like to do content of all kinds at some point. But that's the main thing we have going on here right now. As it is spooky season, if you can't tell by the vibes at which I'm filming this and the fact that I've really leaned into stuff. Sorry. If you can't tell by the fact that I've, really leaned into the, spooky colors and all the things. And I'm hoping, as I say this on a video now, that I hold myself to this. For the sake of it being October, when I'm filming this and, when, such videos will come out, we usually try to do videos twice a week, usually back to back, but, for the sake of spooky season, I'm going to try to do 3. Saturdays will always be Baldur's Gate 3 videos, because on stream we stream on Sundays is one of our stream days, which we call Series Sundays. Whatever game we're currently working on as a series is the game we're playing until we finish it, and then we move on to another one. Our current one is Baldur's Gate 3, and so I usually try to put the barely edited VODs on the YouTube here on Saturdays so that I keep things in schedule with when the next time we'll be streaming that game, so that everything is up to date if anybody missed it and wants to see what everything was like. So yeah, and that'll be pretty much, for the most part, the only videos that won't be spooky based that will go up, other than like one other one, which might already have come out by the time y'all see this. But yeah, I am vibing with the spooky season. I am trying to get into it and have those vibes with all y'all. Today we are going to be reacting to a compilation of true animated horror stories. I love those things. They're also terrifying. I don't know if these are 100% true. It says everything's true, but we're gonna also put, alleged, as I say this here now, because you never know. And in this particular case, I believe all the stories are going to be narrated by Corpse Husband, if everybody remembers who that is. I actually found him during 2020 when everybody was gaming, and he ended up doing Among Us and ended up doing gaming content and things like that. I did not know that he did horror-based things and narration before this. I actually found it recently, to be honest, and was like, hey, it's spooky season. What a time to watch that stuff. I understand lots happened, and at the moment, at least, he doesn't seem to want to be in the public eye right now, online and stuff, which totally fair, totally understandable. But I do kind of miss that content. I have actually, in myself, been getting into Among Us again because, I don't know, say what you will about whether or not you fully like the game or not, but when we started streaming in 2020, everybody needed a way to connect so desperately, and in my case, there was 3 games, maybe 4, that were like pinnacles into helping me connect and into my streaming and stuff with people, which was Among Us, Dead by Daylight, which we still play. I believe we had some time in Stardew Valley, and then Animal Crossing New Horizons came out in April of that year. So, we were in that shit. That was the way that I connected with people the most, was Dead by Daylight, Animal Crossing, and Among Us. We played so much of it, and I've recently, like, at least as of filming this, have gone back and looked at some of the old Among Us videos that, you know, lots of people were posting. Markiplier, PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, Corpse, Sykkuno, you know, like, just, like, Pokimane, like, so many people, because it was, like, Lauren Z-Side as well played Among Us. I've been looking back at those because there's some sort of, like, nostalgia and seeing the little bit of, like, horror aspect of it, but just that was what we could do to connect at the time, and it was so much fun, and I had fun doing it too. And I've recently learned that Among Us has kept up with shit and has kept updating and adding things and making things cooler, so I'm kind of getting back into it a little bit again, but that is the reason why I figured out that Corpse used to do this stuff, was because I've been kind of going back and looking at stuff, because there's just some sense of, like, I don't miss 2020, obviously, but in the way that people came in, the way that games kind of exploded at that time, because that's how we connected to each other and that's how we socialized, because we couldn't really go anywhere, that part was fascinating in the way that we, like, fought to still have fun with people, make new friends, and the games, and when I played games at that time, were really, really fun. I had a good time. They were, like, the highlight of my day, right? So, like, I've been kind of, I don't know, I've been, like, sentimental, I guess, about it lately, and ended up realizing that this happened, and I was like, hey, it's spooky season, let's fucking go. So, yeah, so we're going to be reacting to one of Corpse's old videos. All these are going to be narrated by him. I'm saying this because, 1, I'm honest about what I react to, but 2, because I'm sure there's going to be several people that will know who Corpse is, that watch my content because of who I am as a person, and, like, my vibes, and are gonna think, wow, my voice sounds familiar. This is why. I want to be fully transparent. That is why the voice is going to sound familiar. But yeah, so, like, let's just get into it, I guess. Let's fucking go. Let's hope I don't get scared.
First, a little background information. I worked the night shift at a local gas station when I was 19. I was the only employee in the store, as usual. On Christmas Eve, I had to work the overnight, 10 p.m. into 6 a.m. into Christmas Day. It was a normal night. No customers.
I'm sorry. I'm going back on that. If it's a dude, I guess you say whatever you want about that, but I'm sorry, you worked at a gas station night shift when you were 19 by your fucking self? That's already awful.
As usual. On Christmas Eve, I had to work the overnight, 10 p.m. into 6 a.m. into Christmas Day.
Damn.
It was a normal night.
That's
no
awful.
Customers, and my cleaning was almost finished. I had just got done eating and decided to go out for a smoke when I hear someone walking towards the store in the distance. Now, this was nothing out of the ordinary until the person gets to the pumps and I can actually see them. It was a male, about 5'9" and somewhat thin. He was wearing a dark hoodie, jeans, and was carrying a gift bag. As he got closer, though, I noticed that he was bleeding from his forehead. As he approached me, I asked if he was okay and if he needed any help. I noticed that the bag was empty, which should have been my first red flag. The guy looked me in the eyes, looking dead inside, and said, "You want to help? Then don't call the fucking cops." I agreed and told him that there was a first aid kit inside and that I'd be happy to help him with his wound. Crazy, I know, but I was just trying to be nice to him since he was a first aid kit inside and that I'd be happy to help him with his wound. Crazy, I know, but I was just trying to be nice to him since he was someone who could be a threat to me.
Well,
We
I mean,
went
I
inside
guess
the store
that's
and I
fair,
got the
but
first
at
aid
the
kit.
same time, what
As I pulled
survival
out the
skills?
stuff for him to clean himself up
You're
with,
by
he said he
yourself.
needed to use the restroom and once again told me not to call the cops. I told myself that if he wasn't out of the bathroom within a reasonable amount of time, I was going to call the police. He didn't come out, so I went outside and called. The dispatcher told me to stay out of the store and find somewhere safe to be until the officers arrived. I stood at the side of the store where he wouldn't be able to see me, but I could see if he came out of the bathroom. He never came out. The police arrived and asked where he was. I pointed and they went in. Just as they got to the door, he opened it and tried to lunge at one of the officers. They tackled him, threw a knife that he was holding, and promptly arrested him. As they were walking him out of the store, he told me that I was lucky that the police got there when they did, and that he'd see me again soon. I was a little shook by that. One of the officers came to take my statement after the other took the guy away. I told the officer what had all happened, and then I asked something I really wish I didn't know the answer to. What was he doing in the bathroom? The officer told me that it was a good thing that I called when I did, because the guy had shot up some heroin in the bathroom, then was going to come out with a knife, stab me, and run with what money was in the register. That's what the bag was for. This guy had a lot of problems and a lot of anger inside of him. The reason he was so angry was also the reason his head was bleeding. He owed his dealer money and got beat because of it. His solution to the problem was robbing the store. The officer told me if I didn't call when I did, I'd either be critically wounded or dead because he wasn't going to allow me to stand between him and that money. I hope I never see that crazy drug addict who wanted to kill me to free himself of debt again.
Okay. On one hand, I'm a little sympathetic, not because obviously that guy should be going and fucking murdering people. Don't get me wrong, shouldn't be doing that. But like, I understand that drugs are a really horrible thing and can fuck people up, and you never know why or how somebody started. And obviously, if it's an addiction, it's really fucking difficult to stop. And, you know, there are some people, unfortunately, that don't, you know, have support. And don't get me wrong, that's not to say that, like, you know, being somebody that's trying to support somebody you care about that has an addiction in its own is probably very hard. There might be moments where, you know, that person has broken your trust multiple times, so your willingness to get them out of situations dwindles because you want to help, but, you know, sometimes you can't help somebody unless they want to be helped. So obviously there is a struggle there. But in that case, I just want to, like, put out the fact that addiction is not a thing to joke about. I don't think it's fair to kind of throw anybody just because they might be addicted under the bus. It's kind of the same way I feel about, like, people making comments and kind of just being like, I look like a homeless person or whatever. Like, it's not nice, it's not fair, and obviously, fucking right now in this economy, more and more people are going to understand how homelessness is and affects and works, and there's so much history on both sides of that pendulum that it's like, I just felt the need to point out that, like, being addicted to drugs makes you do stupid shit, and sometimes it doesn't make you a particularly nice person. But this guy, in this case, didn't care. He was the type that was fully in it. You know, supposedly he had a dealer that he couldn't pay, and the dealer lost his shit, which is already in itself a whole other can of worms. But he clearly didn't care in this case. The fact that he also, like, even went into the bathroom to shoot up before he even did anything is sort of like, what was the reasoning there? Like, was it he wanted to feel high? Was he trying to, like, psych himself up for something? Like, clearly, this person, regardless of being addicted, was not in the right mind and had no issue with the idea of killing somebody or stealing if it meant that he could pay back and continue to get his drugs in this case. This guy had an issue. But I would like to say, and I would like to think, that not every single person that happens to be addicted, even if it is something like heroin, is going to be like that. I think that addiction is hard, and it can sometimes bring out the worst in a person, but it brings out the worst in a person. It doesn't create issues that weren't already there, and I feel a lot of the times people who have an addiction most likely have some sort of issue on top of it that the drugs help them cope with. So whatever was wrong with this person was already happening before. Because I don't think it's common for every single person who happens to be addicted to want to murder somebody for the sake of things. Don't think that's how that works, especially considering, like, I'm not saying every celebrity is nice, but we, at this point, know of a lot of celebrities and comedians that were addicted to X, Y, and Z of drugs, and none of us knew for the longest time, because as far as we knew, they, you know, as, like, at least in the public eye, were functioning, and they were doing their stuff, and they seemed really happy, and they weren't going and, like, being the stereotype of being a piece of shit to people. So I feel the need, maybe it's just me and how my brain works, but, like, to clarify that the fact that this person was addicted to drugs is important in the context of why he was doing what he was doing, but saying at the end of, like, I don't want to see this drug addicted person, it's like, was that necessary? I don't know. He was. But let's not put everybody who has been addicted to something in that category. This person had issues regardless of the addiction, and I'm just glad that this person was still smart enough to call the police, even though they initially said they wouldn't. I'm glad that this person survived as long as they did, because the reality of the matter is if this guy didn't want to go and shoot up in the bathroom first, he could have already been, like, fucked up. Like, if this guy hadn't decided to want to go get high first, while he was outside, he could have already been stabbed. It's messed up to say, but that is a possibility. So I'm just glad that the situation worked out the way that he did, and that he didn't continue to not call the cops, that he was like still smart about it. But that's terrifying. This is one of those great examples of why, like, I understand that less people might show up if you're in a night shift or whatever. I feel like any place that you do some sort of customer service, gas stations especially, you can get quite a plethora of people around when you're buying and stuff, and you're working. But, like, I hate that so many people in so many places, no matter how small the store is, work by themselves. I don't think that should be a thing. I don't care how late you're open till. I hope that's less of a thing now, because I don't care how fine you think that something's gonna be. I don't care what the fucking company or whatever running the place says. If you're doing a really long night shift, or even if you're doing an early morning shift, I don't care. There should be 2 people on shift at all times, in my personal opinion. It's sucky when there's only 2 of you, and, like, that means that you have to take your break in the store. Like, if you're somebody that can drive, or you're a manager in something, and you can't spend your, like, 1 hour, half hour break out of the scenario. But safety-wise, it feels so much safer to me to have 2 people on shift at all times. So that even if you're in a really small, gas station, and your other coworker's on break or doing something in the back, and you're the only one out front, that you at least know that there's somebody else there that's got your back. And if you can make an excuse to go back there or whatnot, somebody else is there. And if you can't, call the police willingly or whatnot. Like, I worked when I was 16. Sorry, I'm rambling a lot. I worked when I was 16 at a department store, I guess it's considered. And I couldn't work the days because I was in school, so I was working the evening shifts. But by evening, we closed at 7 p.m. So it wasn't late. But depending on the time of year and stuff, we would still get stuff. And I remember moments where I got people in there that were definitely out of it, or just, something was wrong, or people who were straight up being creepy to me. And there always needed to be a key holder. And I could be there to close, but I wasn't a key holder. I couldn't actually physically close the door. So there always needed to be somebody there, which meant there was always one other person. And I'm thankful for that, because there was many a moment where I was the one standing up front. Like, there was a particular moment where I was standing up front, and a guy came in, also covered in blood on his face, no jacket, no shoes, in the middle of fucking winter. I live in a very cold climate, and I wasn't sure what the fuck I was supposed to do. And thankfully, I was able to sort of make an excuse to call up the only other person in the store, but I backed away from the front for a second so I could whisper to my coworker before they came up front, like, hey, something's not right, something's not cool. Like, just so we're aware, this isn't a normal situation we're dealing with. And he was also able to make it, kind of make it seem like he was understanding what was going on, and be like, oh, hold on, I can go to the back, da-da-da. And he left me alone for a second, but it was so that he could call the police and then come out front, and being the absolute sweetheart he was, he took over at that point and told me to go into the back and wait until stuff happened, because I was a fucking child and I was terrified because I didn't know what the hell was happening. So, if I had been alone that night, I don't know. And I don't know if I would have been able to pull back. In this case, this person was able to because the person left to like go to the bathroom or whatnot. But like, that's not possible for everybody. I hate the fact that there are people who have to work early mornings, late overnights, night shifts, and have to do it by themselves. Like, I know maybe it's different for certain jobs. There's definitely jobs that I have not experienced or worked, but that feels so dangerous to be like, yep, that's fine. And this person was 19. Like, when I was 19, I was like, I'm an adult. No, I'm in my freaking mid-20s now, and I can tell you right now, I can still consider myself at 18, 19 a fucking child. Like, looking back at that now, I'm like, no. No, I wasn't. Not enough. And being 19 years old, potentially just graduated, on your own overnight shift, and being like, yeah, this is fine. Like, no. No. Anyway, that's my spiel. That's my opinion on that one.
One time I went to the bar with one of my friends. I had just turned 21, so I haven't been to many bars up to that point. My friend was drinking on the way to the bar, so he was already pretty drunk when we got there. When I sat at the bar, a cute girl came and talked to me and my friend. She said her name was Candace, and I noticed she had really, really bright red hair. I assumed she dyed it. I mean, it was pretty, but unnatural. Anyways, the girl was flirting with me and my friend. She could tell my friend was already very drunk. To be honest, I played along like I was drunk already too, since it seemed to be working for my friend. I didn't know if she was just trying to get free drinks, so I told her we didn't have much money. She then offered to buy us drinks. She kept buying us drinks, and I started to get confused as to who she liked between me and my friend.
Okay. I have opinions already. First of all, I'm sorry. If you're drinking on the way to the bar and you're already drunk by the time you get there, I guarantee you the bartender and staff fucking hate you. Because depending on the type of drinking you are, like, there are people who drink and they can get tipsy or whatever and they're not super rowdy or crazy or, you know, an angry drunk or whatever. But, like, I guarantee you if you show up to the bar and you're already wasted, they're gonna hate you. And they're gonna know. Like, you might think you're hiding it. You're probably not. And I guarantee you the bartender is like, I'm done with this shit. Like, guarantee that you're gonna get cut off so early in the night because they're like, yeah, no, you're too much right now. So the fact that they were even able to keep buying, getting drinks is astonishing to me. I don't know if this is just, like, I'm not into, like, flirty culture, bar culture, whatever, because I didn't go drinking that much, and I no longer drink at all. Haven't for years. But, like, the fact that he was like, I pretended to be drunk as well because it seemed to be working for my friend. I'm like, so the goal in that scenario was to get some, so you pretended to be out of it because you hoped that you would get some? I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but that feels like a weird thing to do. But
my friend went to the bathroom. Before he came back, he was kicked out by the bouncers.
Yeah.
He was way too drunk. Candace and I went outside with him. She kept telling him to go home with her. He was so out of it, he could barely answer her. I told her he was too drunk and that I couldn't let him go anywhere. I didn't want him to wake up hungover in some random house with no car and no idea what happened. Candace kept pushing it, saying that she would take good care of him, but I told her no because I had to stay with him. I was more sober than him and he was my responsibility. I told her the only way he was going anywhere was if I tagged along. I assumed she thought I was jealous or cock-blocking, but my friend could barely stand and lost interest in Candace already at that point. She immediately started flirting with me and offered to get my friend a taxi to drive home, and said we could go to her place alone. At this point, I had a few drinks and I was already buzzed, so I agreed. We took my friend to the taxi and walked to her car.
Okay, I understand that, like, you might not be thinking straight. He had already said he was pretending to be drunk earlier in the night already. Probably because he wanted to get some. So a girl suddenly being like, yeah, you can come home with me. And him being like, yeah, okay. Alright, that happens. I at least like that he was sober enough to look at his friend and go, yeah, no. You're not going home with anybody. You're going to your own fucking home. Absolutely not. At least we know this person is a good friend to even be like, and to not be like in the sort of back in the day toxic masculinity of like, yeah, man, go get it. Even though he's not at all coherent. That he was like, yeah, that's not happening. The thinking with your dick a little bit is the moment of like, hey, no, my friend's not going with you because he's too fucking drunk. He's my responsibility. He needs to go home. The only way he would come with you is if I was there. And then she's like, oh, but like, what about you then? Like, you can come to my house. And he's like, yeah, all right, I'll get my friend a taxi, but I'll come with you. Like, there was so much like logic and like almost seeming sober for a second, and then the immediately like, oh, you don't want my friend anymore? Yeah, okay, I'll drop him off.
I slightly stumbled on the way to her car.
Wow, you're pretty drunk, huh?
She said, smiling as she held onto my arm. Yeah, I said. I don't know why, but I just felt slightly shy and anxious. Everything was just happening too easy for me, so I felt uneasy. We got in her car and we drove down the street.
Want to stop at the liquor store and get somewhere to drink? I'll buy it, so don't worry about paying.
She offered. I didn't want to drink any more than I already did. I mean, I was already buzzed and wanted to be able to carry myself throughout the rest of the night. Sometimes I made myself look stupid when I'm drunk, so I didn't want to ruin anything with Candace more than I already did earlier with telling her my friend was too drunk. I told her I was already drunk enough, but she insisted. I didn't want to seem lame, so I told her to get me a pint of liquor with some apple juice to chase it. She went into the store and came out with a lot more than just a pint. I assumed she wanted to drink more also, and that's why she got a fifth instead of a pint. On the car ride, we passed the bottle back and forth, but she took tiny sips. I tried to take...
Oh my god. I hate everything that's happening in this story right now. First red flag, pretending that you're drunk in the hopes that you'll get something. Second red flag, after heavily defending your friend so that he can get home safe because he's not coherent, being fine with going home with the girl that was clearly interested with your friend at first, and not at all being concerned about the switch up. Second, being more concerned about worrying about messing up your chances and seeming lame for not wanting to drink anymore. Not listening to your intuition when you're anxious. And then, biggest red flag of all, knowing that she just bought alcohol. And she's driving, and you're in the car with her, and you're fine with passing a bottle back and forth for y'all to drink? Nah. The fuck?
Take tiny sips, but she kept passing
This is
me the bottle
already
and telling me
dangerous.
to drink. I somehow managed to drink all of my apple juice, and I pretend to drink the bottle by spitting the liquor into the apple juice bottle. I tossed the apple juice bottle full of liquor out the window before she even saw it. I didn't want her to know that I was
And now we're
acting
littering.
drunker than I was. I mean, she
Okay.
actually believed I was sloppy drunk when I was simply buzzed. I took a couple more sips of liquor and then finished the bottle. Throughout the car ride, I called her the wrong name a couple of times to get a reaction out of her. She didn't react to it. She just kept letting me call her Carla without correcting me. For some reason, I thought maybe she lied to me about her name initially. We drove up to her house, and I pretended to trip and stumble into her front door. She helped me walk inside by holding me up. She opened her front door, which was unlocked, and we walked into...
The still thinking everything's okay. Like, I'm glad on one hand that they just, like, pretended, I guess, to be things, but it's the fact that you feel so compelled to pretend like you're drunk, to keep up this, like, giant act, instead of wanting to leave. Like, I understand that things can happen, maybe you feel pressured, you don't know what to do now. I understand fear. I'm not saying, oh, he should have known. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I guess it's just the fact of, like, I feel bad that this person, maybe it is because they already are a little buzzed and they're not fully thinking straight, but it's like, yeah, let me keep up the act that I'm absolutely sloshed out of my mind right now. The fact that he feels like he has to do that is not good.
She closed her front door and then she locked it. I thought that was strange, but assumed she didn't want anyone walking in on us. I told her that I had to use the bathroom. I walked into her bathroom, locked the door, and looked in the mirror. I just felt strange.
Why are BC public sector workers on strike? It's simple. We can't afford to stay in our jobs without fair wage.
I felt like something was off. I felt myself becoming more drunk from finishing the bottle earlier. I turned on the sink to make noise and made myself puke up the liquor I drank. I flushed, went to the sink, and started drinking the tap water out of my hands to sober up. I just didn't want to be drunk, but I still wanted to hook up with Candace, so I pretended to be drunk. I turned off the sink and I could hear her
still want to hook up
talking to
after all this
someone.
point?
He's drunk as hell. He can barely stand up. You do it.
Who was she talking to, and do what? I walked out of the bathroom and into the living room. The moment I stepped into the living room, I saw her walking into another room. All I could see was the back of her head, that strange, very bright red hair go into another room. I didn't see her face or anything. I just saw her kind of walk fast into the room. The living room was pretty dark. Hey, where you going? I slurred like I was drunk. She walked back into the dark living room and up to me.
Let's go in my room.
She said. I looked at her bright red hair, and then into her eyes. They were different. Her whole face was different. It was another girl with the same hair, and that's when I realized it was another girl with the same wig on. It was a wig the whole time. She changed it with the girl from earlier for whatever reason. My heart felt like it stopped, but I tried to look like I had no idea it was a different girl. I kind of smiled at her and told her I needed to use the bathroom one more time and told her sorry I was so drunk. She said,
It's fine. Just hurry up in there.
I went into the bathroom and locked the door. I heard her whisper something to someone again. This time I think I heard a male voice whisper back. I honestly didn't concentrate on listening to exactly what she said, but something sketchy was going on, and I had to get out of that house. I opened the bathroom window and jumped straight out of it, and ran faster than I ever have in my entire life. I didn't look behind myself or anything. I just ran straight through the backyard, jumped the fence, ran through someone else's backyard, hit a road, and ran towards the main road. I kept running down the main road until I saw a Star CVS. I ran into the CVS and stood straight at the front of the store in front of the camera. I called a taxi and went home. I try to think of what happened that night. What was she or they planning that night? Why did she tell me a fake name? Why was she trying to get my friend and I so drunk? I thought maybe a robbery, but she kept spending money on us. She kept buying us drinks and even paid for my friend's taxi cab. And mostly, why did she wear a wig that she gave to another girl to wear? Who was she talking to? What did it mean? And what was in that room they tried to lure me into? The next day after this incident, I went back to the house with a couple of friends to see just what was going on. Nobody was there. No cars, no people, nothing. Just an empty house. I ended up finding out that the house was a summer rental, and whoever those people were, they broke into that house and used it for only that night and never came back. Anyways, that's my story.
I do wonder what that means. Was there, like, a human trafficking situation? Was there like a, I don't know, some black market shit they were trying to accomplish? If there was a male voice, I have to question if either of the girls actually wanted to be in on what was happening, or if they themselves were kind of being influenced, manipulated, or controlled into whatever the situation was. A part of me wishes we actually, like, for a fact knew what happened, but I also understand that if that was the case, a lot of the times when we do figure out those types of situations of, like, what somebody was trying to accomplish, it's because it ended badly, or they got caught doing something, and that's bad. But hope those people are no longer out there, because that's not cool. Like, I gave the guy so much shit, and that's because there's a lot happening that I don't understand, but, like, regardless of anything, obviously that shit's not okay. It, you know, doing that to anybody isn't okay. But obviously, regardless, like, that's not a cool thing to have happen to somebody, and that is terrifying, and I'm just glad that at the very least he was able to recognize, like, it's weird that they wanted them to be so drunk, and that he, you know, prioritized his safety over that a little bit. I think I'm more just, like, there's a lot that happened that I'm shocked by, but I think I'm more just shocked that, like, he felt weird, went into the bathroom, and decided he was going to continue to pretend like he was being drunk, but was going to purposely make himself yak up the liquor that he was just given because he felt weird, but was like, yeah, I still want to get some, though. I'm like, that wasn't a giant indicator to you that something was wrong? Like, you felt the need to hack up to keep yourself sober enough, but you're like, yeah, it's still fine. Let me go get fucked. Like, okay. I think that is just confusing to me. But I maybe just don't understand.
It was about 3 in the morning, and I was on my way to my job at my local McDonald's to open with one of my favorite managers there with me. She told me to text her when I got there so that she could let me inside. Once I pulled in, I noticed a man standing outside of his car in the farthest corner of the parking lot. He was shooting me this sort of menacing stare. Let me point out that it's completely pouring outside. I was really confused as to why this guy wasn't just sitting in his car. I then parked and texted my manager to let me inside. Seconds later, I noticed her at the door opening it for me. Upon walking up to her, I say my usual good morning. I was stopped mid-sentence by her rushing me inside and saying, "Did you see that guy outside?" I told her yes, and she proceeded to help me refill sauces, napkins, and things like that. My manager then told me that she's going to check the security tapes just to make sure that everything during the period that the restaurant was closed was okay. Minutes later, my manager called me into her office for whatever reason. She told me to look at the screen, and it showed that the same man was standing outside. The time was 12:47. She then fast-forwarded the tape to reveal that the man had been standing outside the entire time up until now, and at this point it's about 3:50 a.m. I ran to the front lobby and I noticed him still standing over by his car. I figured, or was hoping, that he was probably just on something and he was waiting for us to open so that maybe he could get breakfast. I resumed filling sauces again and making sure everything was in working order, until I was abruptly interrupted by banging at the front door. I walked over and noticed a figure right outside the front door. It was the man. I yelled that we were closed and that he would have to come back later. That didn't seem to faze him as he continued to bang on the door. I walked away, figuring that he was just being an asshole, when suddenly I heard a loud crash. I ran to the lobby to see the glass door broken and the man beginning to step inside. I yelled for my manager and told her that we needed to leave through the back door, and we did just that. We booked it to our cars and both called the cops. They arrived in about 15 minutes and came outside the restaurant with a dirty-looking man in cuffs. They said he was hiding in the back janitor's closet with a large knife in his hand. So that's my story, and also the reason I'm never working early mornings again.
At least in this case, there was 2 people. It wasn't by themselves. That's insane, though. Okay. No. No. Okay.
Is Javier the answer to Argentina's economic crisis? Or is his supposed...
Oh, I hate this.
My family and I live in Arizona, and we occasionally visit our Navajo family in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We left early to get there by noon or less. It is a very long and boring trip there, but we get there before noon and we have time to mess around and talk with our extended family. And we, kids, start to play around till the evening starts to show. The house is too small for everyone to fit and sleep in. Some of the kids have to sleep in the trailer and truck camper, but 2 of my cousins and I had the amazing luck of sleeping in the old, slightly torn tent.
The amazing luck. Was that supposed to be sarcastic? Yay! We get to sleep in the shitty tent. Let's go!
We are well asleep at this point, and for some unknown reason, I wake up. Of course, I'm still tired and rubbing my eyes while yawning, meaning I wasn't well aware of my surroundings. Once I finish rubbing my eyes, I look straight at the entrance of the tent and see a figure, illuminated by the back porch light, standing in front of the tent. At first I was scared, but thought it was my other cousins just messing with us. As this person was still standing outside our tent looking at us, I turned to one of my older cousins who was 2 years older than me to wake him up and tell him that someone was standing outside of our tent. He tries to brush me off, but I persist and he turns to me and asks me what I wanted. I tell him to look at the entrance of the tent, and he does. I've never seen someone go from the brink of sleep to sheer panic and alertness in their eyes that fast before. He looks at me with this panicked face and tells me to be quiet. He whispers to me that it's a skinwalker and that we need to be quiet again. We lay there for the longest time, and from my memory it was at least an hour or more. We were just about to go back to sleep because it hadn't done anything.
Then it
I wanna be
started
able
to
to
move
sleep.
around the tent.
Remember when I said this was an old tent? Yeah, it had some holes in it. One of the holes was the size of a quarter, and I decided to be brave. As it continues to walk around the tent a 4th time, I slowly crawl towards the hole and try to take a look. As I did this, my cousin told me to get back to the bed or it'll hurt us. Of course, as a kid, I ignored the warning. I'm at the quarter-size hole and looking out to see whatever it was. It comes around the hole, and what I saw was bone-chilling. I bolt back and hide under my sleeping bag while my cousin does the same. This thing decided to stop moving and start looking at us again.
I hid under the covers and spent every ounce of energy being scared. And then I finally fell asleep.
You fall asleep while it's watching you? Hell no, bitch. I'm staying awake. The fuck? I've heard about them. I need to know more about, like, what the legends of that mean in this scenario, because I don't fully get it. And I also don't understand why we don't get a
I
description
woke
of what
up
he saw.
early,
He just
maybe
said
around
bone
5,
chilling.
and I decided to look around the tent to see if there
But-
was anything there. I see footprints, bare footprints that send shivers throughout my body. I saw the footprints move around the tent. This hit me hard because I was now realizing it wasn't a dream. As I further investigate the footprints, I noticed that it went off track. It went off to the rocky hills nearby where we were staying at. I followed the track to the hills, about a football field away from the house.
Why would you...
As I
Okay.
continue to follow the tracks, something strange and scary happens.
Okay, so this is bothering the hell out of me. If this is real, like genuinely real, then knowing that it wasn't something you made up by seeing all the footprints around your tent is fucking terrifying. This is so very much, though, like a fucking horror movie in the sense of, hey, somebody's telling you, don't fucking look. Just pretend to be asleep. Lie the fuck down. And you're like, nah, I'ma look. And then you see all these footprints and where they lead, and your thought process isn't, that's fucking terrifying. Or maybe it was an actual person. Maybe I should tell my parents or something and show them the fucking footprints. Your thought process is, yes, let me follow the fucking trail and see where this thing goes. Like, what are you gonna do if you run back into it? What is this horror movie, you're the first to die bullshit? What? Like, I understand that they're a kid, but come on
Goes
now.
from 2 footprints walking
No
for a while
survival
to footprints
instincts.
and handprints in the dirt starting to form. I found that kind of strange because no person would do that out here. As I followed the tracks further into the hills, the hands and feet started to get smaller and smaller. It then subtly changed into coyote paw prints. That is when I stopped and turned back home, first walking fast, then onto a full-on run.
Yeah,
When I
why
got
would you
back,
follow
I
them to
sat
begin
down on the
with?
back porch for a while and thought about telling my family, but I didn't think that they would believe me. In the end, I didn't tell anyone, even the cousin I woke up in the middle of the night.
Why?
Well, that's my story. I urge you guys to not go into the Navajo reservation to go looking for them. You will bite off more than you can chew. We, my people, take these beings very seriously and do our best to not talk about them. Even though I broke this code, I just thought to warn you guys about them. Whoever is listening are the first people to hear this story. I had a few more stories to tell, but this is by far the scariest one I had.
Okay, Alright, Ad. Don't worry. I'll skip this after the fact. But
In Albion, no
I
matter where you go.
literally... Stop it. I understand that they are very much something in some First Nations cultures, and so him being like, my people take these very seriously, totally understand that. Did Kid you just not take it seriously? Because you said your people take this very seriously. So why didn't you think your family would believe you? And also, why did you go out of your way to follow it? I'm very confused. And I mean, I appreciate you trying to warn people, you know, despite everything. But at the same time, it's like, my guy, maybe there are some stupid people that'd be like, yeah, let me go find one. But I guarantee you, anybody with survival skills would not go out of their way to try to find one. Like, it's like, you'll bite off more than you can chew. Bitch, I'll get bitten. I don't fucking care. I'm not fucking going for that. Why? Why would I go out of my way to find a horrifying creature? No, thank you. I'm good. Okay, what's next?
The following story took place in Norway in 2015. If the wording seems a bit off, it's because the story has been translated. I was called in for a night shift on Saturday at the gas station that I used to work at. I'm 19 years old and a guy. I'm pretty short, like 5'6", but I weigh around 190 pounds. Because my lifestyle almost only aims for both powerlifting and bodybuilding, depending on which time of the year it is, I got really mad that I got that shift because I need a good night's sleep. But whatever, I needed money anyway. I shaved my head clean like I do every second day while keeping my full beard and packed 3 decent meals for the shift. I went to work at 11 p.m. and the shift was gonna last until 8 a.m. whilst being alone until 6 a.m. I don't mind working alone. Some people get paranoid and everything, but I myself have the kind of facial features and build that most people would not bother to mess with. Even though I'm a very nice person, it doesn't really look like I am. I had some customers while working, of course, a lot of drunk people. Since it's Saturday and in Norway, people tend to grab a burger or a hot dog at the gas station before heading home, others just there to fill up on gas. But later, at around 4 a.m. when it started to get more and more quiet, I saw a stressed out woman a few steps away from the door outside. I couldn't exactly tell what she looked like from behind the cashier desk, but I could tell that she was stressed out, standing with her arms crossed together while turning her head to the sides and turning around every now and then. I was considering to go out and ask if she needs any help, but I brushed it off and was thinking she was probably just waiting for someone. But then she looked inside and began to walk towards the entrance. She came inside, breathing in between normal and heavy, and she sat down. I greeted her with a smile, and I could tell immediately that she was a drug abuser, and that she was really stressed out. She was dressed with normal-looking clothes and looked like she was in her 20s. She kindly responded with, "Hey," with an obvious fake smile where you could tell that this person is sad behind the mask that they're putting on. She then came to the desk, asking if she could borrow my phone to call her boyfriend. She said that there were people following her and that they wanted her hurt or dead. The following conversation goes on like this. "Are they looking for you? Like right now?"
Yes. Please let me borrow your phone.
"Sure thing, but wouldn't it be better if I called the cops for you?"
No, please.
My name is Ryan Corey. I'm the president and CEO of ShedPoint here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. ShedPoint is...
all I need is to borrow your phone for a quick call.
Long story short, I told her to go sit down at a specific corner of the station where there was no glass wall so that people wouldn't be able to see her. She called her boyfriend 2 or 3 times, but nobody responded. She kindly asked me if she can log into Facebook with my phone, to see if maybe she could contact him there. I was kind of unsure about this, but I am by natural reasons very humble, maybe a little too much. Another thing was that I was standing right behind her, so there was no unacceptable things that she could do without me seeing it. So I said, "Alright, you can log into your Facebook." I told her to use the Google Chrome app to go on Facebook and not the Facebook app itself, since I hate spending time logging in and out of my account on my phone. Call me a lazy bastard, whatever. She logged in, and long story short, no response on there either. She thanked me a lot for the help and was about to walk out. I asked her if she was sure about me calling the cops or not, but she was 100% positive about me not doing it, which was weird, I thought. "Okay, well, be safe," I told her. Later on into my shift, I turned my phone on only to find out that she forgot to log out from her Facebook on the Google Chrome app. Out of curiosity, I checked the messages, which I believe every other person would probably consider doing. The most recent conversation was obviously her boyfriend, I thought, but there was nothing about "come and pick me up" or even the slightest thing that made me believe that this was her boyfriend. I checked the others below. Every fucking conversation I checked, which was about 6 or 7 of them, was either about drugs or money. Meth, coke, heroin, codeine, you name it. As humble as I am, I just felt bad for her, and I logged out without judging. 2 days later, I'm at the gym doing some deadlifts when I get a call from a number that is not registered in my contacts. I picked up. Hello, Alan speaking. Hello, who are you? Who am I? You called me and I've already said my name. Who are you? You called me 2 days ago in the middle of the night. No, I didn't. And then I remembered about the girl calling her boyfriend at the gas station 2 days ago. Oh wait, I remember. I don't know her name, but I assume you have a girlfriend? Then I went on to explain the situation. You may think, how the hell didn't I know her name when I had her Facebook logged into my Chrome app, but I simply didn't bother to remember it. He then responded that he didn't have a girlfriend. Surprisingly, this didn't shock me at all. I could tell that she was full of shit when I saw the messages with my own eyes, but I pretended like this was something that came to me as a surprise. Oh, really? Well, that's what she told me, and I tried to help her out after that, which I've already explained to you. What do you know? What do you mean, what do I know? Has she told you anything? If so, I need to know right now. I was really starting to get pissed off. First of all, I was being mixed into some bullshit for no reason now. Second, getting interrupted during my workouts makes me want to rip off someone's head. She hasn't told me anything and I'm really busy at the moment. Please don't call me again because none of this is actually my business. It is your business. You helped her, you piece of shit. Before I hung up, I told him to fuck off, otherwise I would take this case to a level that he would regret. I mean, obviously I would never kill him or anything, I just tried to come up with some dumb shit to scare him. I got a bit frustrated too. Why the actual fuck would that girl call a psycho who obviously didn't like her? It was clear that he was mad because he thought I somehow helped her, which I still don't understand what he meant by that. So, on to the rest of the story. My neighborhood is quiet, and my town is small, so it's not hard for anybody to find anyone. It's as simple as pasting someone's phone number in a specific website and their address will most likely show up. And eventually, I happened to get a little visit. As I said, the neighborhood is very quiet after midnight, and while being in bed watching some bodybuilding videos for entertainment, I started to hear someone driving towards my area. Well, that's not normal at this time, but it happens. Eventually, I heard a car park right outside my property behind my garden, which goes a little bit uphill filled with stones and flowers. So I couldn't see the car from that point on, but I heard someone opening the car door and locking it. What the fuck was going on? I opened my window quietly, just to be able to hear a little bit more. I could hear the man walk up the little uphill part of my garden, which made some sounds because of the stones. I won't lie, I was scared as shit. I couldn't see him either, because everything behind my garden is blocked from my point of view by tall cements for the garage. The garden uphill leads to the balcony where a big glass wall is, and that's where my little sister's room is. I went to the exit of my door and quietly walked out. I walked to the cement stairs at the side of my property, which leads me to the exact same spot as him. I could hear footsteps, and I quietly walked up the cement stairs. Then I caught a glimpse of the guy.
Weapons?
Probably the guy I was speaking on the phone with. Keep in mind, I still don't know what the hell he wants from me and why the fuck that junkie woman called him in the first place at the gas station. I know nothing. My adrenaline was high, but got almost to its peak when he was right outside my little sister's glass wall. I was scared, but also really pissed off. No way he's going in there or trying at all. At the top of the cement stairs, I walked quick but silent until I saw that he could hear someone walk behind him just a few feet away. Then, I ran as fast as I could and pushed him with all my anger, leading him to get smashed into the wall beside my sister's glass wall, before I proceeded to get over him and hold my palm over the side of his face, pushing it down while asking what the fuck he wants. My little sister woke up, screaming, which also woke my mother up. She ran out and asked what the hell was going on. Why my dad isn't home is another story, but anyways, my family's facial expression was filled up with fear, and I told my mom to call the cops. The man said nothing, just laying still with his left hand wrapped around my right wrist because of the pressure I was holding his face down with. He was literally resting for a few seconds before starting to resist like a horse again, but he ran out of energy fast. I would ease my palm off of his face so that he could get his head up a little bit, only to smash it down again with anger. Both he and I were breathing heavily. I stopped asking questions and my mother was on the phone with the police, always reacting with fear when the man started to resist again, but I told her it was under control. It didn't take long before the cops showed up and arrested the guy. I told them the whole story about both the girl and the guy. They were both just regular fucking drug addicts and have both been in prison previously for it. I was scared as shit and still to this day don't know why I had to be involved in this. Maybe he was just a paranoid psychopath. My lesson to you, never let some creepy stranger borrow your personal phone for situations like this. If it sounds dangerous, simply call the police to help them, and if they don't want you to, then just leave it. If you're at work, like I was, use the work phone.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to say a quick thanks to all the animators who were involved in this video. They all have amazing styles which they encapsulate in their own ways. Mort, Axeman, and MJ, all of their links can be found in the description. And if you didn't notice, my narration changed throughout the video. That's because some of the audio used in these were taken from years ago when I was beginning narrating, so I hope that wasn't too hard on the ears, and if anything was just inspiring to see how much your narration can improve over time. I plan on doing these pretty often, and often in Corpse Time is like once a month. And no, it's not a replacement for any content, purely an addition. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you see me in a week with some new stories if I don't end up at the doctor's again. I appreciate your loyalty immensely, and if you're new, welcome. Keep up with me on Twitter and Instagram at corpse_husband. I've been more active lately. And for those
Okay. This is an old video, to be fair. It said like 5 years ago, I think. Yeah, 5 years ago, 2019. That is a very old fucking indication of Instagram there. I have not seen that at Picture in Ohio. Okay. Well, those were spooky. I clearly have very strong reactions when things happen. But let me know what you found was the spookiest of the things. And if you enjoyed this, and maybe in the future, even when it's not necessarily spooky season, if you would like me to react to any more spooky videos in the future. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Hopefully you do not have nightmares. And I love you all very, very much, and thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.